Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sabansi. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today, we got a pretty interesting show here for you guys. But before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to our Dreamerspro Short Clips channel that we have in the comment section below. Now, as you know, the story around the NBA, at least yesterday the day before yesterday happened with Kevin Durant and these guys being eliminated and the Boston Celtics forcing a Game 7. The story was centered on the Los Angeles Lakers and specifically Anthony Davis, right? Now, funny enough, that was a game I was actually watching, but I didn't watch it all the way to the very end because the Golden State Warriors were up, I think, by double digits. Before I went to bed, they were up double digits in the third quarter, and I was like, well, it looks like they're going to be able to hold on to this lead and ultimately win the game. So when I woke up, I was surprised to see that during the game, Anthony Davis suffered some type of injury, that he received some type of blow to the head from Kevin Looney, which seemed like an inadvertent shot to his head, because when you're going for rebounds, there's a lot of activity at the basket. Hands are flailing everywhere. So things like this happen from time to time. So when it happened, AD was basically actually taken out of the game. He looked like as if he probably had a concussion. And then from what I understand, they took him out in a wheelchair. But then we're understanding that the reason they put him in a wheelchair was because the medical facility within the arena was a little bit too far for him to get to on foot. So that was that. And then the crew that was covering the game, TNT, and specifically NBA on TNT, featuring Ernie Johnson, Shaquille O'Neal, Kenny Smith, and Charles Barkley, I believe after the game, they were discussing essentially what happened. And I'm sure many of you know right now that during that segment, you could see Charles Barkley and Shaq and Kenny, these guys kind of laughing at the situation, but it wasn't explicit. It wasn't explicit. And had I not had the background information, I wouldn't have known what they were laughing at, right? So they were laughing at him. Then it became pretty awkward when Ernie Johnson was up there. It was like, come on, guys. What are we doing here? So that was that. Now, after that happened, a lot of people on Twitter were disappointed in the fact that Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal and these guys were laughing at Anthony Davis's injury, and some believe that it could have been a potentially very serious injury. So for them to be laughing, it was a bad look, right? So there's that. Now, yesterday, various platforms along with ours were reacting to it, and I came across a segment from the show The Odd Couple, featuring Chris Broussard and Rob Parker, a show that I really, really like, and they themselves touched on, Charles and these guys laughing at them, and they basically we're not feeling the fact that they were laughing at Anthony Davis after he got injured. So what we want to do is we want to play what Chris and Rob had to say here, and then we're going to come back and give you guys a summary on what they had to say. So take a listen to that.
I did not know what they were laughing at.
Well,
I missed Kenny. I didn't see Kenny do what he did with the chair, but I was like, what? It's so funny. I didn't know. And Ernie Johnson seemed a bit perturbed because at one point he's like, "All right, guys, let's just come on, guys, come on."
Well, one thing is,
did you know? Did you see it live or?
But I didn't. That they were acting out like it was a wheelchair. But my thing, Chris, is
so you didn't know either that they were making fun of AD. I did not know that.
But the idea of playing around and acting like you're in a wheelchair is bad. I just that's not funny.
I just
you know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, and I think what they're thinking of, and I'm kind of, I don't know, but what people were equated to was Paul Pierce.
I was going to say, did AD have to go to the bathroom because Paul Pierce?
Yeah, and we found that out later. Initially, Pierce gets in the wheelchair and he goes, and you're thinking that, wow, he is serious knee injury.
But you knew when he came back, it couldn't have been that. How in the world could you be in a wheelchair and then come back and play?
Yeah, but my point is, I think that's what they were thinking of. Pierce, fronted like he needed a wheelchair, and he didn't, and ADs did the same. And I think it was also a shot at the notion that AD's soft and always hurt.
Well, I mean, Charles calls him street clothes. Yeah, he gave him that nickname, and we get it. I mean, there's a degree, and they're always going to treat him differently, Chris, because of his history.
Right. And I think like you said, Rob, when he hits the floor, I think that first, like you said, Lakers fans think, oh my gosh, and even just fans in general, is this it? But there's also a part of you that's like, come on, man, just get up. And you still need to just let it play out, though, because you don't know. And that's where I think if you want to criticize Charles and the crew, at that point, you don't know if it's a serious injury. So you got to be careful. If he had a concussion, if he did have a serious head injury, you don't want to make light of that.
Right. You don't know. You never know. You haven't diagnosed him. You don't know what's going on. You could be chuckling and all that and acting like he's in a wheelchair or whatever, and he's paralyzed. You think that's funny?
Next thing you know, it's something serious.
Right. Like that's why you don't mess around with that.
Maybe it was a nerve hit, and because of the way he got hit.
So you heard what they had to say there. Here are my thoughts. I think there's a nuance that has to be discussed here because I think there's some confusion. The confusion is this. The public that was laughing, right, at the segment with Charles Barkley and these guys, they were not laughing, at least in my view, they were not laughing at AD's injury. That's not what they were laughing at. I think that they were laughing at the reaction of Charles Barkley, Shaq, and these guys. That segment itself was hilarious to watch. Absolutely hilarious. Like, I mean, if I watch it right now, I'll start laughing. But I don't think that they were laughing at AD. They were laughing at Charles and these guys. That's what made people laugh. Now, Charles and those guys obviously were not laughing at themselves. They were laughing at what had occurred. That's what so they're two separate things. So I want to draw the nuance there so people can understand that. People were laughing at that segment because we produced a show, 2 shows yesterday around it. Oh no, a show around it yesterday. We got hundreds of comments on it. And people were like, that segment is hilarious. So they were laughing at that segment, not at Anthony Davis. What Chris and Rob are saying is it was distasteful for the crew to laugh at AD. 2 different things. I just wanted to state this because I think some people are confused about it. And I quickly want to say this in closing. Let's do our best to not make this a political thing, please. Like I mentioned it before, and I'm going to say it once more. This is not a political channel. This is not Fox News, CNN, whatever it is, MSNBC, whatever you can think of. It's not this. When I'm talking about these things, I'm not talking about it from a political angle or anything. One of our viewers said, don't be woke. Please stop. Please stop. I don't view these things through the prism of politics. I'm not pandering to anyone. I'm giving you guys my opinion based on what I think, not because I have some type of political ideology whatsoever. Again, please, if that's the place, if that's what you want to discuss, there are a plethora of platforms out there that can discuss that with you until the cows come home. This is not one of them. That is not what I do. I'm not interested in engaging in any kind of political conversation with anybody. We're talking sports here. Let's keep it to sports. And for somebody to say, oh, that's a woke statement. I thought some of you guys that go around calling people woke don't like to discuss politics and sports. So why are you bringing it up on this platform? Kindly stop that. This is not what Dreamerspro is about. Politics and pandering. We're not about that. Thank you.